Well, joining me now to discuss all of this and the UK-US relationship more broadly is Joy Morrissey, an American-born British Conservative Party MP for Beaconsfield. Joy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm very interested about the US-UK relationship because if we were talking a month ago, people would say it was at a bit of a low point. We had the crisis of Afghanistan, we had Joe Biden's comments on the Irish Protocol. Things did not seem particularly rosy. Yet, just last week, a new defence deal signed. Today, Joe Biden announcing more money, exactly what Boris Johnson asked of him for the Global South and dealing with climate change. Are things now on a one-way route to an incredibly close relationship?
I think so. And people said, as Brexit was happening, we weren't going to have a close relationship with the US and we'd be isolated. And it isn't true at all. And I think this is moving us toward an even closer relationship, and I think it's a very good thing.
There have been some criticisms in how the Boris Biden relationship has worked. People have pointed out that they're pretty different characters. Indeed, the American view of Boris is as someone who potentially is closer to Trump, at least in aesthetic, if not in policy. Will this trip serve to change Americans' minds of the British Prime Minister?
Absolutely, and I think his commitment to COP26 and the climate sort of alignment in terms of tackling environmental issues and our strategic and defense alignment is very much at the forefront of their talks and negotiations. And I think Boris has been a wonderful, the Prime Minister has been a wonderful sort of beacon for British values in the US. I think he's done very well, actually.
Now, there have been a couple of criticisms because, of course, Boris Johnson was clearly, I think, hoping to announce this US-UK travel corridor yesterday when they met. But Joe Biden took it upon himself to announce it the day before. Was that a bit of a snub to the UK?
It might have just been an oversight or administrative error. I think it's probably just good that it's happened, and there's been a lot of pressure and a lot of discussion about it, so I'm delighted. It is another win for the Prime Minister, so I'm happy about it. I know a lot of my constituents want to go abroad and want to take a holiday there, so it's very good.
One thing that is less good is potentially this view of the trade side of things. Whenever the Prime Minister, whether it was Theresa May or indeed Boris Johnson, spoke to the former US President, there'd always be words about how things were moving ahead towards securing a trade deal. That seems to have slipped by the wayside now. Should we give up hope?
So since I've been elected as a backbench MP, I've kind of been banging on about how instead of going for a big trade deal with the US, it would be so much better to go for a bespoke sector-specific deals so that we could get in sectors that we are very good in, entertainment, the arts, film industry, other technology, that we sort of get those deals and then it doesn't compromise us on other things. And I think there's real value to that. And that's something I've always been sort of saying to ministers. So I don't think it's a bad thing, actually. I think it just means that we can move forward in a more bespoke way. And there's always a disadvantage to a complete, there's always swings and roundabouts to a bilateral trade agreement. And so I think going for a bespoke option is really good for us, actually.
Do you get any sense that the Americans are interested at all on this, though? I mean, President Biden's talking very much about, even if he doesn't say it in terms, he's very much implying a new America First agenda, sort of withdrawing from other parts of the world and potentially looking much more inwards as a country. Is there a space for the UK there?
Absolutely. In our strategic defense, particularly, I think we're very aligned, and in our environmental sort of focus, we're very aligned. And if you look at how the Biden administration is moving forward, they're under tremendous pressure from the unions, from sort of trying to win back the Rust Belt. So they're trying to sort of always look at things in the context of home policy, and I think that's a different shift that we've seen. But I think it's just they're trying to claw back those votes.
And more widely, when we look at sort of global leadership and we see the rise of China and their assertiveness in the South China Sea, but also more broadly in terms of many allegations of cyber attacks on Western powers and the like, At what point do we need to see a more assertive UK-US relationship? I'm thinking back to the days of Thatcher-Reagan, of Blair-Brown, of Blair Bush, I should say. God, all those B's. It's very alliterative.
Blend together.
Yeah, blend, another one. But at what point do we need to see a more assertive point of Western leadership? That seems to be in retreat.
I think we're seeing, particularly from the UK, tremendous leadership in defence, and our strategic and integrated review really showed our capacity, what we did in Afghanistan, sort of our ability to evacuate so many people. We really set the level. We evacuated more than anyone else, I believe, and it was just a credit to our troops and just what our military is capable of. And I think we are moving toward a strategic place in the world through our defence capabilities and our other strategic interests.
Joe Biden not being particularly responsive to UK asks to extend that deadline, though. Many people still trapped in Afghanistan, suffering under Taliban rule, potentially because the Americans didn't listen to us. How does that surely has to sour the relationship?
I think Boris, the Prime Minister, is so positive, and I think he came with one mission to talk about the COP26 to make sure that we could open up the travel corridors and to make sure that we had that as strategic alignment in those issues. And he's been successful. And I think we have to take it step by step. And I think what we've seen is a very successful trip to the US. And I'm very pleased at the result.
So narrow objectives, but objectives achieved.
Moving, you know, I think that's the best way to deal with the US, is making sure you have those incremental wins and you develop an ever closer sort of relationship for what benefits us and what benefits the UK long term.
Well, Joy Morrissey, Conservative MP for Beaconsfield, thank you very much for joining us on The Briefing this morning on GB News.